welcome back to another episode of Asian One-to-One Football Coaching, Analysis and Tactics Board. Today's session we're going to be analysing a game from Project Restart that happened on the very first day back, which was Manchester City versus Arsenal. Man City ran out 3-0 victors. Before we get stuck into this, I need you all to hit the subscribe button, leave a like and leave a comment saying what you liked about the video and what you want to see more of. So in terms of both teams' formations, the managers, personnel, who was available, who wasn't available, Manchester City here in the green, they started off in a 1-4-3-3 formation. Personnel that started: Edison in goal, Kyle Walker as your right back. Young lad Garcia started the game, which is very promising for him and maybe his future potentially, to see how he gets on this season, and obviously whether he can sort of nail in a position long term. You've got Laporte, who again, if he can get lots of minutes under his belt when it comes to the crunch moments at the end of the season, when you've got potentially FA Cup final if they get that far, and also the Champions League, he's going to be massive for them. Then you've got Mendy on the left, Gundogan, the 2H you've got KDB and David Silva. So David Silva's last season at Manchester City, so again he'll be probably having high motivation as well, wanting to win that Champions League in particular before he sort of leaves Manchester City. And the top three, you've got Riyad Mahrez, Raheem Sterling and Jesus. Jesus started ahead of Aguero as well, which was quite interesting, but nevertheless they have got a lot of games. Like I've just touched on as well, they've got FA Cup and they've got Champions League at the end of the season as well, so Guardiola already has hinted that he wants to give everyone loads and loads of minutes, and also said before this game as well he will be making 5 substitutions because, so as some of you guys might be aware, you might not be, the new law allows you to make up to 5 substitutions. So you're now allowed to name 9 players on the bench. It was 7 before that, it's now 9. And you could make up to 3 substitutions before, you can now make up to 5. So he'll be using these full quota of substitutions throughout the game. And like I just touched on, Pep as a manager there. For Arsenal, you've got Mikel Arteta as the manager. So you've got almost like the general versus the apprentice, if you like. Obviously with Arteta being at Manchester City the last sort of 3.5 seasons before he joined Arsenal a few months back. Well, it seems like only a few months back, but in reality it was around Christmas time, so it's sort of half a year ago. With them, they started in a 1-4-3/2, sort of Willock in this number 10 did drop in and help out, but he also was in an advanced position as well. Then a 3-4/2 with a 1 up top. Players, Bernardo in goal. Good to see Hector Bellerin back. He did obviously play a number of games before the break, but it's straight back into it, and he's a key player for Arsenal. Whether he's good or not is another debate altogether, but he's certainly their best right back at the club. 2 centre halves, you've got Mustafi and you've got the young lad Murray, who Arteta brought on loan during the January transfer window, so he's been given an opportunity. And then Kieran Tierney, obviously the young lad, again, who they signed from Celtic in the January window, so he could be potentially a hell of a left back for Arsenal in the years to come. 2 sort of sitting in here, you've got Guendouzi, the young lad. I actually really like him. He never shirks away from a challenge. He always wants the ball. He seems a bit of a leader despite only being 19, 20 years old. He seems one of the key players at Arsenal, and he could potentially be one day a captain for the club as well. I do believe that. Alongside him, Granit Xhaka, who's their sort of ball playing centre midfielder, and Arteta likes him quite a lot. 3 in advance, you've got over here you've got Saka, who again before the break did really well, mainly on the left back area and left wing area, but he's starting on the right. Willock, and then you've got Aubameyang, and then the young lad Nketiah is sort of being given a bit more of a run. First game back, should I say. If you remember before the break, he sort of did start quite a few games, preferred ahead of Lacazette. So for Arsenal, that sort of starting lineup already, you look at it and you think, Murray, I'm not sure how old he is, but relatively young. Tierney, relatively young. Guendouzi, young. Saka, young. Willock, young. And Nketiah. So maybe this is a bit of a blueprint of how Arteta wants his team going forward. He wants a younger player. He wants to maybe more of a homegrown player. Or, look at Saka, Nketiah, Willock, those types of players who know in the club, come through the system. And also, by having younger players, generally speaking, you would have more energy in the team. So again, that might be another indication of the way Arsenal and Arteta want to play with a sort of a high energy game. And I think you do need that in the Premier League in this day and age, because the game's so quick, it's at high tempo, it's a high intensity. I think energy is a massive requirement in the Premier League in this day and age. So yeah, they're sort of the teams and the managers. In terms of form, so Manchester City were in good form going into the game. Their last 6 games, won 4, drawn 2, won 4, drawn 0, lost 2. So fairly decent in this form. You could argue for Manchester City's high standards, they could do marginally better. But generally speaking, as a whole, throughout the whole league, a lot of teams would take that. In actual fact, Arsenal are actually in slightly better form. They, in their last 6 games, won 5, drawn 0 and lost 1. So marginally better in their form. And Arsenal actually, so far in 2020, obviously previous game, they're the only team that are unbeaten in the Premier League. And I know, obviously the season sort of stopped back in March time, so they only sort of played 2.5 months. But nevertheless, 2.5 months of playing Premier League games. I believe they played 8 games during that period, won 4 and lost 4. So they're the only club in the Premier League to be unbeaten in 2020, which is again promising for Arsenal fans. Maybe Arteta sort of worked on certain things during sort of the week before games, leading up to games, etc., and making them sort of hard to beat and sort of tougher to beat really. And very, very promising sort of going into the second sort of part of Project Restart, if you like, and also going into next season as well. Potentially, if they can shore things up and get more consistent in sort of both thirds, defensive third and the final third, then I think Arsenal could be onto something quite strong potentially in the next sort of year to 18 months. One other thing to sort of just mention as well, so both teams are relatively strong. You could argue Aguero coming for Jesus, you could absolutely make a case for that, and then possibly Garcia coming out and maybe a John Stones or an Otamendi coming in. Everywhere else, you'd probably say it's about right. Everyone, you can make life for Bernardo for Mahrez, but there's no difference there. You can do Rodri for Gundogan there. There's no difference there either. With Arsenal, you definitely, I would say personally, Lacazette is better than Nketiah, but the direction Arsenal might be going in is, and the noises you hear about Lacazette potentially leaving, suggests that probably Nketiah might be more the one they're going to go look for sort of long term. So both teams, had everyone available. It's just obviously just picking the team. And I think it's worth noting at this point as well that it's going to take, not just for these 2 teams, but for every Premier League club, probably 3, 4, 5 games to get up to speed. And that's difficult in itself, because normally when the season starts, you have a game sort of every week for the first sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Here you're going weekend, midweek, weekend, midweek, straight away. And also there's a lot to play for. There's a lot on the line, in terms of Arsenal possibly getting into Europe, Man City trying to get their form going into the latter stages of the Champions League, and also going for the FA Cup. So there's a lot more at stake, sort of straight away, which is something to sort of just bear in mind as well. Okay, moving on to the game itself. I shouldn't probably chuckle really, but game started off quite brightly, but within the first minute, Granit Xhaka actually rolls his ankle, number 4 just here. Seemed a bit sort of innocuous really. He's sort of chasing the Man City player down, twisting and turning, and just rolls his ankle. Actually, he couldn't play any longer, so after minute 1, substitutions had to be made, and Dani Ceballos comes on for Arsenal. Like I just touched on earlier as well about the substitutions, you're only allowed to make substitutions on 3 separate occasions during open play. So you're allowed to make subs at half time, and then 3 occasions during open play as well. So straight away after minute 1, they've had to make a substitution. That's one of their moments gone to make a substitution. And then from there, probably from there till about 15 minutes, Arsenal looked dangerous on the counter-attack. And actually they had a bit of possession of the football as well. It wasn't just solely counter-attack. Nketiah looked lively, Saka looked like he joined in, Aubameyang looked lively. No sort of real chances for Arsenal or even Man City at this stage. Both teams sort of just trying to ease their way in, but I'll probably say Arsenal looked marginally sharper in that first sort of 15 minutes. And then moving on to sort of minute 24, 23, 24. Young lad Murray, he's obviously given an opportunity here. I would have said he would have got run against at the end of the season. He actually picks up a leg injury. I'm not sure if it was his quad or his hamstring, definitely a leg injury. And he's had to go off after 24 minutes, and then David Luiz has come on. So again, Arsenal's had to make their second substitution, and that's their second opportunity to make a substitution. That's 2 of their 3 allotted windows in open play used in terms of subs already. So Arteta already, his hand's been forced in terms of the timing of his subs and maybe his tactical ones later on in the game. If the game, is tight, maybe they need to make sort of those decisions later in the game. David Luiz comes on, and at this point again at 24 minutes, I'll probably say the game was still quite even. Maybe Man City at this point were getting a bit more possession, but weren't creating loads. There was one free kick that Kevin De Bruyne had from the edge of the box. Traditionally, a lot of players would go over the ball into this corner here. He went to the keeper's side. Fairly routine save for Leno, just put it over the bar. And then this is where sort of I think the cobwebs were sort of out of Manchester City system, and they come into their own a bit more. I've touched on Kevin De Bruyne had a chance, free kick saved. David Silva had a really good strike and sort of on the angle from about 10 yards, going to the bottom corner of Leno's left hand side. He makes a really outstanding save. I think a lot of people didn't appreciate how good that save that really was from Bernd Leno, but that was a fantastic low diving save from him as well. Strong palm. There's another opportunity when Kevin De Bruyne picks up the ball around the edge of the box. He slides in Mahrez. Leno comes out and smothers the ball. Again, another good save. And there's another couple of instances as well where he's made routine saves that you expect him to make, but you could see, the momentum was building for Manchester City, and Leno was becoming extremely busy, making plenty of saves. So moving on to the first sort of goal of the game, you've got Kevin De Bruyne here on the ball in the sort of inside right position, just inside the Arsenal half. He does love this position. Normally it's a bit more advanced. He does like making that curl ball in, whether it be a cross or a pass. Inevitably he picks the right ball and he executes it as well. And everyone knows the skill he's got in terms of when he can make a pass or when he can execute a moment of brilliance. And something similar happened here, although the execution of the pass wasn't actually quite up to sort of KDB's levels. Again, so what he is, he picked up the ball here. Kyle Walker's made a pass to him, simple pass. Picks up the ball, opens up his body, looks forward, which a lot of players don't always do. I recently heard an interview with Cesc Fabregas. His first thought is, if I pick up the ball, whether it be in an advanced position or a deep lining position, his first thought is, get my head up, can I play forward? And Kevin De Bruyne is very much in that mould. He picks up the ball, assesses what options he's got. Mahrez is tucked in field. Jesus is sort of occupied in this central area, so he could zip one into him, no problem. He could go back to Kyle Walker, and they can sort of build from there. But no, you've got to bear in mind this is Kevin De Bruyne. He doesn't play safety. He plays risk and reward. So he sees a picture. He sees Raheem Sterling, who's the number 11 here. Sort of, he's making a move between Bellerin and Mustafi, sort of making a lung busting run in here. On the blind side of Mustafi, but Bellerin can see that. So I couldn't quite hear him during the game because I had the game on. Didn't have the crowd noise, so I could try and sort of wanted to hear the players, see what sort of messages and information was passed on during the game. I didn't hear anything from Bellerin to Mustafi. That's not to say something wasn't said, but in that situation there, if you're passing on a player, that player, so Bellerin needs to let Mustafi know. Mustafi needs to know. I don't think at one point there Mustafi was aware of Sterling's run, so he makes a run in this position here. Kevin De Bruyne arcs his curl ball into this position here. It wasn't actually very good. He didn't set it out wide enough to eliminate David Luiz. So it sort of came into David Luiz's sort of thigh area, sort of hip area. I'm not sure what he tries to do from turning on. I don't know if he tries to control it with his thigh, if he's trying to clear it, but then it's an awkward position to clear the ball and it wouldn't have gone very far. But nevertheless, David Luiz has made an error. And the ball sort of skids off his thigh, bounces up in the air, lands to Sterling as he's sort of continuing his run on the angle, smashes the ball into the far corner, and that's 1-0 Manchester City on the stroke of half time, really. So they're the key moments as well. Like, the team talk might have been completely different for Arteta. If it was 0-0, they held on. If David Luiz clears that ball, or they hold on and it's finishes 0-0 at half time, then the team talk's a little bit different for both teams really. But nevertheless, City score 1-0, and KDB's got an assist. Sterling, first goal of 2020. I believe that's in all competitions as well. So that's the monkey off his back as well, and hopefully he can sort of go on a bit of a run going between now sort of the end of the season. You could argue all through sort of three players involved done what they're known for, if you like. Sort of Sterling under Guardiola the last 2 seasons, known for scoring goals. He's just a machine now. David Luiz, sorry Arsenal fans, but he's known to make an error. He makes his error. And then KDB is known for his assists, and he makes an assist. So all three players in that situation, they're sort of known for what they're known for, really. So yeah, it's 1-0 City going into half time. So moving into the second half, and we're only 3 minutes into the second half, and Manchester City actually double the lead. So there's a catalogue of sort of situations here which I'll explain. So Ederson here is always, he likes having the ball at his feet. Everyone knows how good his distribution is, but he's really advanced. He's actually outside his box. He's asking for his players to disperse and spread out and make the pitch nice and big for him to sort of have many options. So he could play safe, which he does very many times, but also he likes to go long. Everyone knows how good his sort of long distribution is, whether it's from his hands with a sidewinder, from his hand with a sidewinder, or if it's just a drop and drive or just a driven pass. In this situation, it's a driven pass. So he has the ball here, and like I said, he could just go safe. No, he goes massive diag into Kyle Walker over here. So Kyle Walker's actually more advanced in this situation. KDB's looking maybe for a short ball in here, and actually Riyad Mahrez has found himself in more of a central area with Jesus a bit deeper. As that's come in, it looks like it's going to be a little bit too strong, but Kyle Walker does really well, backpedals, gets himself on the whites, and actually jumps up and actually heads the ball back into play. Does really well to keep the ball into play. As that header's been made, Riyad Mahrez is sort of got a bit of momentum sort of when he's running. He's not sort of jogging. He's got a bit more pace now. He's coming in this direction here, and David Luiz isn't going in that direction to go meet the ball. And as the ball comes into Riyad Mahrez, he beats David Luiz to the ball, chests it, because he's got so much momentum, his chest takes the ball beyond David Luiz into the box, into this position. David Luiz is trying to sort of get an arm across, trying to sort of use his physicality to try and shrug off Mahrez off the ball, maybe to make him a little bit unbalanced. In actual fact, because he's gone beyond him, David Luiz actually pulls him and makes a foul. Penalty's been given, definitely the right decision. And actually, he actually gets red carded as well, which some people would argue is maybe a harsher penalty, and just been given away a penalty, and then you're given a red card as well. But by the letter of the law, the referee's probably made the right decision there. So that's 3 or 4 minutes into the second half. It actually gets to the 50th minute, I think it is. KDB steps up, so number 8 over here, penalty spot, nice and calm. So with Manchester City's penalties, I'll just note as well, they've had quite a few this season, and they've had quite a few missed. So off the top of my head, I think Guerrero's definitely missed a penalty, Gundogan's missed a penalty, Sterling, possibly one other's missed a penalty as well. But KDB, their last game when they played in the Champions League, KDB had a penalty then, which was their last penalty they've had, and he stepped up and scored. So KDB was up again against Bernd Leno. Bernd Leno dives to his right, he slots the ball to Bernd Leno's left. 2-0 City. It's 11 v 10, 49, 50 minutes gone. Arsenal away from home, had 2 injuries, a man sent off. It's an uphill task from here onwards. So yeah, 2-0 to City at this stage. It's also just sort of the worth note as well with David Luiz, how much of he can be a liability. It's not can be, he is a liability for Arsenal. I've always didn't mind David Luiz. He does show a lot of passion and enthusiasm for the game, but he has these errors in him, and I don't think you're ever going to get them out of him. There has been suggestions in the past where he could play maybe in central midfield, so he's sort of less exposed, there's less chance of vulnerability in terms of the team itself. I think the best season he had in the Premier League, you could argue, was under Antonio Conte when he played central of a back 3, and it was just roll the ball to Azpilicueta, who played one side, or roll the ball to Christensen on the other side, and there was no risk in his play. and there's bodies around him. So if he was in trouble, maybe an Azpilicueta or a Christensen can get him out of trouble. So he's got them blunders in him. And since he's joined Arsenal, he's actually given away 4 penalties. He's only been at the club for 3/4 of the season. So this game here against Arsenal, I believe it was Watford, Manchester City and Liverpool. So there's 4 penalties he's given away. On top of that, he's been sent off twice as well for Arsenal in this game, and then I think it might have been Chelsea or Liverpool, I'm not sure on that. But yeah, he's been sent off twice and given away 4 penalties. So again, goes back to my argument, and makes my argument even stronger, the fact that he's got an error in him. He'll always make these stupid decisions and have these stupid moments in the game, which ultimately seems to cost the team and him as well. One thing I will note, after the game he does front it, he doesn't shirk anything, he does come out and says, it was all my fault, I apologise to my team, I apologise to my manager, there's contract situations going on and I've made it all about myself, it should have been more about the club, and sort of club over me as opposed to me over the club. And he came out and said all those things, he said all the right things you expect a player to say, so I'll give him credit for that. But just going back to this situation here, he's got a blunder, and I think that you never, at the age of 31, 32, I don't think you can ever take that out of David Luiz now. So yeah. So like I mentioned, it become a 11v10, it become more of a training exhibition for Manchester City especially. I don't think Arsenal didn't create anything beyond that sort of moment. It was more Manchester City dominating possession, looking for a lot of sharpness for individuals. Touched on it earlier, Guardiola was able to make plenty of substitutions. He made his full quota of 5 substitutions. That actually leads me on to nicely to sort of the next incident actually in the game, which wasn't a good moment for the young lad, but young Garcia, number 5 for Manchester City, actually picks up an injury. At the time it looked very, very serious. He didn't look like he was moving too much, but essentially what happened was Arsenal played a long ball through, Ederson came to clear outside his box, headed the ball, but he actually clattered into Garcia at the same time. And he was down and actually had to be stretchered off. I think since then it's come out that he had a concussion, he went to hospital, but everything's fine. He sort of obviously has to go through the protocols. I believe he can't play for 7 days or can't train for 7 days. So he's going to miss Manchester City's next game. But at that point there, Manchester City had made 5 subs, so they couldn't obviously bring anyone else on. So it actually become 10v10 at that point, and because he was down for so long, there was 11 minutes injury time, so there was plenty of obviously minutes to go still. So you can it actually become a 10v10, but that's just Arsenal sort of, because it was even numbers again, they came back into the game, as in terms of having a bit more possession, actually looking like they could create certain opportunities. Again, they didn't actually create anything worth noting, didn't sort of stretch Ederson to make a big save or anything like that, but they looked a bit more in the game sort of looked more even. But because Arsenal had a bit more possession of the ball, that made them even more vulnerable at the back, because they obviously had pushed players forward. And actually, there's a third goal that comes in the game, and young Phil Foden, who in my opinion should be getting more minutes, I think he probably will get more minutes next season after the departure of Silva, but even to this point here I still think he should be playing more minutes. He's got a lot of quality, and he's almost like someone described him as the Stockport's Iniesta. I can see that. He glides on the pitch, he's very fluent, he's got good balance, you can tell by his hips, he's very, very balanced, he's very elegant in the way he moves. So I can definitely see that, that's a comparison. Obviously what he needs to do on the pitch over the next 10 years, he's got a lot to sort of live up to, if you like, in terms of what Iniesta did. But yeah, essentially, Sterling and Aguero, they changed formation, just went 2 up front, 3 in midfield, 4 at the back, so lost a player in an advanced area. And Aguero and Sterling linked up, Aguero had a strike, tried to lift it over Leno's foot, which he did, but it hit Leno's left hand, pushed it onto the post, comes back out, Foden's there, smashes the ball into net, 3-0. 91st minute, and there was still minutes to go, like I said, it was 11 minutes injury time, so there was still another 10 minutes to go at that stage there. Aguero had another chance, which I think 9 times out of 10 he would certainly hit the target, but if not even score. He just lashed at the ball, slightly unbalanced, sort of semi-reaching for the ball, if you like. He'll be really disappointed with that actually. I could imagine as a goal scorer like him, despite the game he'd be annoyed being on the bench against this type of opposition, which he does quite well against. Then he's hit the post, which he thought he might have scored. Then he's had that really big chance, which he's lashed at. I think he won't be sleeping very well at night, despite the team winning 3-0. Yeah, guys, so that finishes the games. Manchester City won 3-0. They consolidate their position even more so in second position. Arsenal stay in ninth position. They were the first game, or the second game back on Project Restart, so the league might alter as the games go on throughout sort of the weekend, etc. In terms of the game stats, so Manchester City absolutely bossed it in terms of if you went purely just on the numbers and who sort of won in those battles. So possession, Man City 67-33. It was a little higher when it was 11v10, but it wouldn't say evened out, but it sort of reduced as it became 10v10. Man City had 20 shots in the game, which isn't about a normal amount. Even if it was 11v11, I think they normally make 15, 20, 25 strikes, I think, shots in a game. So that's nothing new there. Arsenal only made 3. Shots on target, Man City made 12. This is the one that's alarming. Arsenal made no shots on target, not a single shot on target. Now granted, obviously, like I said, they did have a man sent off and they had injuries, but nevertheless, this is Arsenal Football Club. You expect them to be hitting the target, the quality they've got with Aubameyang, and granted they had 3 youngsters, but even still, you expect shots to be had and at least hit the target and make Ederson work. Block shots, Man City had 3 block shots, Arsenal had 1. Corners taken, Manchester City had 5, Man City had 5, Arsenal had 2, so again they're winning in that category as well, there as well. Throw-ins, Man City had 18, Arsenal had 10, again winning that category, although I'm not sure how, I've never really sort of studied throw-in quantities to be a positive. Like if you've got lots of throw-ins, does that mean you're defending a lot in this final third and you just keep winning throw-ins there? Does it mean you're playing long balls in the channels, the defenders are clearing the ball and you get throw-ins in there? So I'm not sure how to understand the throw-in side of things. Maybe I could work on that and let you guys know next time round. And also, if you do have an idea of maybe if it's a positive thing to have lots of throw-ins or negative, leave us a little comment saying what you think the strategy could be or any ideas of why people might have more throw-ins over another team. In terms of completed passes, Man City made 637, Arsenal 271, so you expect that with Man City having a lion's share of possession of the football. Pass completion rate, 92% versus 83. Again, Man City have always had high numbers. In an 11v10 situation, that percentage was always going to increase as well because they didn't have to play any more risk football, if you like. They could just look after possession, keep rolling it around, move the opposition around, so you expect that. Tackles made, Arsenal were higher in this category, 15-8, so that's probably the first sort of game stat, if you like, that they've actually won on. And you expect probably that to be a little bit higher, maybe to be higher as well, because they didn't have as much of the ball. They were out of position a lot of the time during the game. So you expect some tackles to be made. Nevertheless, you still have to go and do it. Sometimes you can be 11v10 and be in that 10 boat and just be passive. You can just be chasing shadows, not making any tackles. At least they actually made the tackles, so give them a little bit of credit there. Clearances made, Man City 5, Arsenal 10. Again, if you haven't got the ball, especially in the final third here where there's sort of more panicky moments, if you like, and there's a bit more emergency defending happening, you expect the team that's sort of defending more to clear the ball because especially the way Man City play, they squeeze and they pressure and they try and lock you into these sort of advanced areas. It's difficult for Arsenal in this situation here to sort of play out. They would have to clear the ball a lot and get out and get out and get out, So credit to them for doing that there. Interceptions made, Man City 13, Arsenal 11, so Man City winning that category there. And then fouls made, Man City actually made more fouls, surprisingly. So they made 9 fouls and Arsenal made 7. I would have thought it would have been the other way around again because Arsenal were actually out of possession of the football a lot more than Man City. So actually Man City made more fouls, and maybe that leads to their pressing game, the high energy pressing game they play. They want to win the ball back, but if they get it slightly wrong, they're likely to possibly foul a player. So that could have been a reason why Man City's foul count was a little bit higher than Arsenal in this situation. Okay guys, so that actually finishes episode 7 of Analysis and Tactics Board on the Asian One-to-One Football Coaching channel. Like I said before, leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, leave us a comment, again about the throw-ins, if you've got any comments about the throw-in situation or just anything generally about this video itself, let me know, and we'll see everyone on the next episode.